In this lesson, we study on democracy. There are two types of democracy: direct democracy and indirect democracy. The sphere of democracy is very wide: religious, economic, political, cultural spheres, etc. Democracy is for protection of human rights, equality, freedom, and creation of universal brotherhood. The aim of democratic education is physical, mental, moral, and spiritual development of man. The success of democratic setup depends upon the cooperation of teacher, society, and state. Two types of democracy may be mentioned. They are direct democracy and indirect democracy. In direct democracy, people gather at a place and elect executive officers for running the administration. It also determines the policies to be followed from time to time. The days of this kind of democracy are long over. In ancient times, this type of democracy flourished in Greece, when there were small states in that country. People easily assembled at a place and elected their representatives. Indirect democracy. In modern times, it is the indirect democracy which is running the administration in most of the countries of the world. The people elect their representatives, who in turn elect the administrators, and who in turn lay down policies to be executed. Democratic ideas are the order of the day throughout the world in modern age. After independence, our country accepted democracy and, like other democratic nations, made all round progress on the basis of some scientific approaches. The main aim of democracy is to protect human rights in order to ensure equality and independence, and to generate the feeling of brotherhood among the people. In a democratic setup, every individual has freedom to progress according to his nature, capacity, and other merits. But besides other qualification for self-advancement, it is very necessary to have the cooperation of the people. Democracy consists of four basic elements. I want to begin with an overview of what democracy is. We can think of democracy as a system of government with four key elements. 1. Political system for choosing and replacing the government through free and fair elections. Next, the active participation of the people as citizens in politics and civic life. Next, protection of the human rights of all citizens. Next, a rule of law in which the laws and procedures apply equally to all citizens. Now, let us see the role of the citizen in a democracy. The key role of citizens in a democracy is to participate in public life. Citizens have an obligation to become informed about public issues, to watch carefully how their political leaders and representatives use their powers, and to express their own opinions and interests. Voting in elections is another important civic duty of all citizens. But to vote wisely, each citizen should listen to the views of the different parties and candidates and then make his or her own decision on whom to support. The rights of citizens in a democracy. In a democracy, every citizen has certain basic rights that the state cannot take away from them. These rights are guaranteed under international law. You have the right to have your own beliefs and to say and write what you think. No one can tell you what you must think, believe and say or not say. There is freedom of religion. Everyone is free to choose their own religion and to worship and practice their religion as they see fit. The ideals of a democratic system. Democracy is such a philosophy of life which includes in it various experiences of human society. Its true nature is in the acceptance of democratic norms in every sphere of human life. In a democratic setup, every man should have an opportunity to enrich and develop his personality. Some of the main ideas of democracy are: 1. Respect for personality in a democracy. A man's most cherished possession is his personality. Human personality may be protected in a democratic setup, and independence is made permanent by respecting and protecting one's personality. Next, freedom of expression in a democracy. In democracy, every individual should have the freedom of expression. In other words, he should be free to express his views frankly, make statements and criticize governmental policies. Next, feeling of brotherhood in democracy. Democracy believes that all people of the world are equal and have equal rights. Everyone has equal right on all worldly materials. Next, place of peace in a democracy. Peace is most welcome in a democracy. The path of war should be eschewed. All disputes should be settled through negotiations. This principle is practiced in democracy. Next, place of minorities in a democracy. It is desirable that minorities be afforded full protection and full opportunity for their development. Next, community welfare and spirit of cooperation. Universal brotherhood and cooperation are the two main planks over which the edifice of democracy stands. Next, democracy and social environment. It is the duty of democracy to provide equal opportunities to every individual and group for its intellectual, cultural and material development in all spheres of life. In this way, all will have full freedom to attain their all-round development. Next, implementation of democratic ideals. It will be necessary to take the help of democratic education to make democratic views widespread in order that They percolate down to social, religious, political and cultural spheres of human life. The evils of narrow-mindedness, inferiority, dependence and communalism etc. must be eradicated and replaced by wisdom, cooperation, freedom of expression, self-reliance, universal brotherhood and patriotism etc. through democratic education. Next, Indian democracy and education. Indian democracy is very young, rather in its childhood. The hangover of old foreign rule is yet present amongst its people. The feelings of inferiority, the result of bondage are still there. To uproot these evils, adequate time and proper resources are needed. At present in India, democracy is limited to political field only. By awakening consciousness in individuals, they should be so equipped that they may successfully face difficult situations in life and may uplift the society. Thus, it is absolutely necessary to effect desirable changes in the present educational system and give it a democratic shape in the interest of individuals, society and the nation at large. Now, let us see the other factors necessary for making democracy a success. Socialistic pattern. The feeling of superiority and inferiority and rich and poor are harmful to the success of democracy. We should feel as equals and keep due regard for the rights of others. As long as economic disparity exists, the roots of democracy will not be strengthened. The more the economic disparity between the people in a country, the more will be the incidence of theft and robbery, black marketing, exploitation and other evils. In such a situation, the life of citizens becomes difficult and troublesome and democracy faces danger of extinction. Now, let us see group and individual freedom. Each individual and political party in the country should get equal freedom for ensuring the success of democracy. So, in the interest of the successful running of democracy, it is necessary that freedom of expression is not denied to anyone and truth is allowed to appear before the public. This will ensure that the rulers do not become despotic or autocratic. Now, let us see the restrictions on false propaganda. During election time, each political party indulges in propaganda against the other, hurling accusations. Rigorous punishment should be provided to persons or parties indulging in false propaganda. Now, let us see the training in the exercise of franchise rights. Each citizen who has a right to vote should realize the importance of voting in order to ensure the success of democratic setup. Often it is seen that many persons do not exercise their right to vote. Impartial elections will ensure the success of democracy. To sum up, what you find is the feeling of superiority and inferiority and rich and poor are harmful to the success of democracy. We should feel as equals and keep due regard for the rights of others. As long as economic disparity exists, the roots of democracy will not be strengthened. The more the economic disparity between the people in a country, the more will be the incidence of theft and robberies, black marketing, exploitation and other evils. In such a situation, the life of citizens becomes difficult and troublesome, and democracy faces danger of extinction. Thus, the study on democracy is relevant and useful to the understanding of social psychology. In this lesson, we study on stereotypes. Accepting without reasoning an idea or opinion about a certain race or group or any other thing is a stereotype. Lack of necessary information, failure, suggestion from eminent persons, cultural traditions, bitter experiences help in its development. Now, let us see the nature of stereotypes. A man, when without any reasoning form a definite view about an aspect of a caste or group on the basis of an opinion floating in the society, then he expresses stereotype rooted in his mind. For example, people get convinced that a member of a particular caste must be a fool or cunning or selfish. This kind of opinion of people smacks of stereotype because such thinking is wrong and baseless. It is often seen that such an opinion or thinking is far from truth because intelligent, wise, honest people are also found even in castes thus condemned. Therefore, this kind of categorization is wrong. With any stereotype of an individual are associated his likes and dislikes, approval or disapproval, and intense emotional feelings. Thus, we find a man's feelings and emotions are active behind his stereotype. The development of a stereotype often starts during childhood and it gets so deep rooted in due course that it becomes too difficult to effect a change in it. Stereotype may be accepted as a standardized social concept. In a country where there are several groups, the opinions of some groups against others may be called stereotyped. The opinions of Brahmins about Shudras, Hindus about non-Hindus, Jews about Christians are examples of stereotypes. Now, let us see the types of stereotypes. There are two types of stereotypes. One may be called individual or personal stereotype and the other one group or social stereotype. Personal stereotypes are related to personal experiences. On our own experience, we form an opinion about something and are not prepared to change it on others' advice. This opinion is called personal stereotype. An opinion built about any group, caste or community without any personal experience will be called group or social stereotype. For instance, we may entertain any opinion about some particular caste or sect without having any experience. Such an opinion is our Social stereotype. Hindus entertain certain opinions about the low caste Hindus. Similarly, many of us entertain certain opinions about a particular trading community. These are examples of social or group types of stereotypes. Let us see the development of stereotypes. From the examples, we understand that persons are easily influenced by the opinions of others. This trust in others' opinions develops into a stereotype. We may also say that lack of proper knowledge helps the formation of stereotypes. People also develop stereotype on the suggestion of an eminent man because they have great confidence in that man. Some cultural traditions also help in the rise of a stereotype. We are habituated in evaluating many things on the touchstone of our own cultural traditions. Consequently, in the absence of adequate knowledge, we develop stereotypes about them. Let us see the stereotypes and attitudes. There is an intimate relationship between stereotypes and attitudes. Both are individuals' own opinions. Both are emotional in nature and both influence the behavior of the individual. Stereotype refers to some attitude. Stereotype is formed on the basis of one's attitude. Thus, it may be said that both reflect the same mental position and are deeply related with each other. Now, let us see the results of stereotypes. We may be able to know some part of an individual's nature from his stereotypes. With the help of stereotypes, our behavior is sometimes guided or directed. After the formation of stereotypes, their images settle down in mind. On the basis of these images, the picture of a group's behavior is imprinted on our mind. On the basis of this picture, we preconceive the behavior of that individual or the group in specific situations. The preconception may either turn out correct or incorrect. Traders, in order to improve the sale of their products, try to produce stereotypes in people's mind. One must have seen in newspapers the advertisements of tea, soap, etc. The traders, through their publicity, aim at creating a stereotype in favor of their products. The photographs and certificates of actresses are used by dealers of cosmetics to create a stereotype in their favor. Many people are influenced by such advertisements and start using these products. Thus, stereotypes influence our behavior in many ways. They have made many investigations on stereotypes. Let us see some investigations on stereotypes. Many investigations have been made on stereotypes. We often entertain our mind stereotypes about certain races and nations. Carson Bradley carried out an investigation in 1932 in order to prove this contention. They tried to find out stereotypes in university students about white Americans and Negroes. The students were given a list of some traits and were asked to mark which traits were found in which race. In this investigation, it was observed that there was great similarity in students' answers. Nearly 80% students said that Negroes were superstitious. 70% were of the view that they were indolent. Nearly 48% students replied that white Americans were both intelligent and diligent. These investigations have disclosed that it is human nature to entertain stereotypes, and changes do take place in them according to time and education. Many investigations were performed on stereotypes. These investigations have disclosed that it is human nature to entertain stereotypes, and changes do take place in them according to time and education. Thus, the study on stereotypes is relevant and useful to the understanding of social psychology.